Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back for episode 2 of our college baseball preview show. I'm your host, Griff Green. I got these two fine gentlemen to my right or left, however the orientation is on your screen. I got these dudes beside me. I got Parker Pico. A little family history there. We're not going to dive into it, but there's a little family history there between him and I. All right. And then I got Ryan McKay. I don't like Ryan because he's the St. Mary's guy growing up, but he never played for me in summer ball, so I got my own feelings about Ryan. But we're going to set the personal feelings off to the side. But boys, how are we? Congrats on taking 3 from Louisville this weekend. I know we're recording this a little later than expected. Noah Bright, shout out to Noah Brighter. He dropped the ball. He completely dropped the ball. And I did too because I didn't text Sturgis back. But we're going to go with the A team. We got those guys off to the side. We brought in the A team for you guys. So, boys, how are we feeling?
Great. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, we feel great. Thank you.
You guys are so nice. I just know that you guys hate me behind those eyes. But, hey, we'll get there. All jokes aside, we'll kind of, before we kind of dive into, this past weekend with Louisville, we'll kind of dive into kind of your guys' journeys a little bit, going into, kind of why you decided on Michigan State, initially. I know, Park, it was for you, it was the second choice, right, going from Bama and then transferring. But I want you guys to share, a little bit about, backstory and stuff like that about, why Michigan State and why, ultimately you decided to want to play for, Sparty. So, Ryan, I'll kick it to you, man. Why was Michigan State your choice out of high school and stuff like that, and kind of talk through your recruiting journey a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was honestly pretty simple. I had 4 siblings that went to Michigan State, and, I had, the MAC schools, the Army, some, a couple SEC schools maybe would throw a walk-on, but, I wanted to go somewhere where I thought I could, play right away and that I had a great connection with. And Michigan State was awesome. Like I said, the 4 siblings. But I mean, Coach Boss, obviously I was a smaller guy growing up. So I didn't get a lot of attention, like all the other guys, stuff like that. But Coach Boss just gave me an opportunity that I really couldn't pass up my junior year, because that's when I started, attracting other schools and everything like that. But it was honestly a no-brainer. It was between, Michigan and Michigan State, and Michigan State just, they gave me a lot more that I, respected a lot more from them compared to, what Michigan was throwing at me or whatever. But also the atmosphere is incredible. Going to football games, there's nothing better than that. The basketball games, the hockey games, everything's so elite here. And also, you got a lot of St. Mary's guys here too, so I knew some buddies that were here. But yeah, like I said, it was a no-brainer.
No, that's awesome. Park, what about you? Because I know you went to Bama, right? So
Yes.
you because you were an Adams guy, I had to face you when I was at Rochester, right, for that brief year. Not gonna lie, I dreaded playing you guys because of you and your brother and everyone else on that team. So kind of dive into your recruiting journey a little bit, why you end up, wanting to come back home, right? And kind of dive into that for us.
Absolutely. So I committed to Alabama super early for me, for my family. I have family down there. So when it was kind of like a, really cool experience, right? It's the SEC, it's the big dogs, whatever. And so I committed to them pretty early on, and went throughout high school, obviously, playing you guys, doing stuff. I was committed there, got down to Alabama my freshman year, which it was a great experience. I learned a lot, but I just saw myself, and, they were new coaching staff came in right as I came in, and they brought in a bunch of transfers. So I just honestly had to sit down, kind of rethink my choices, and kind of have a really big, self-realization moment that odds are I'm probably not going to play with, these new coaches wanting to win now instead of, developing there and, maybe playing my junior, senior year. So, obviously after my freshman year, I hit the portal, played on the Royal Oak Leprechauns with Ryan here. And honestly, with him being at Michigan State, he told his coaches about me, and, they kind of reached out and came to, watch me play. I kind of built a relationship with the coaches here, and, they had me on campus, and it just seemed like the right fit, between Coach Boss, Sykes, and Eats that was here a few years ago, it just all clicked for me. I knew it was a place that I could go, I could compete right away for a spot. I could go and earn something. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of, the grittiness, the fun, the competing, you're going to go to cool places here at Michigan State. And, that's what I signed up for, and that's what we're getting. And, that brings me here now. So I'm really happy to be here, and I couldn't ask for anything else.
It's a sense of comfort, right? And I think both you guys kind of touched on that a little bit, right? So because you guys grow up in the area, right? You're familiar, obviously, with Michigan State, right? I know you guys, both you guys mentioned, having boys that either you played summer ball with or played summer ball against, or guys that you either looked up to, right? Going into college, or maybe a couple of years older than you and stuff like that. I think it helps, especially with transferring, especially with all the craziness that goes on with NIL, the portal, and everything that goes on with not just college baseball, but all college sports. All right, it just kind of helps bring that sense of comfort.
Absolutely.
Right? It allows you guys, and I think, Coach Boss, and from everything that, I've dealt with from a recruiting side, right? And also seeing how following your guys' careers, and also sending other players like Sturgis and Bright and all these other guys that we've helped with the process throughout, the entire last few years, it only helps, right? It kind of creates that environment that everyone can flourish in.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into, this season and stuff like that, talk about the fall, right? Because I think, you guys taking 3 from Louisville, this weekend, right? It kind of shocked a lot of people, but I know from just being an athlete and being in a locker room, right, that, you guys believe in yourselves more than, you believe in yourselves more than anyone. And also you believe in each other more than anyone. So kind of talk about how that started in the fall, maybe, and we'll kind of dive into, some other things.
Yeah, I mean, in the fall, it's, every day you're just trying to compete for a spot and you see what guys got. And the cool thing about our team that we noticed in the fall is, like, I could get yelled at by a freshman and, like, I wouldn't take offense to that. And it's, it's vice versa too. Like, we can get on each other, which I love about our culture. But every single day, last year we inter-squatted every day because we had 50-something guys that were on the fall roster. But this year it was a little different. Like, the guys that came to campus, like, that was pretty much our team, other than, a couple guys. So, like, we started forming relationships, like, right away. And, like, even the freshmen and, fifth years, I feel like, we've been brothers for life. Like, that's how, neat it is. Like, with everybody's just so cool. I can honestly say that. But, every single, 3 days a week we're inter-squatting. And, like, when you start to see how everybody is, like, that's when the fun is, when we're inter-squatting. But I mean, we're not surprised at all about what happened this past weekend, because we saw that in the fall. But I mean, we go through a lot together, the morning lifts, and winter break, when we leave and come back, you feel that energy start building up, and it all, like you said, it all comes into play. But the fall is really big for us, like, probably every other school. But we learned a lot about each other, and there's no shocker what happened this weekend for us.
Yeah, I think kind of backpack off Ryan, I think he said was great. Like, the people that our coaches brought in, like, everyone fits super good. The freshmen, the transfers, sophomores, juniors, seniors, everyone just, like, meshes really well, and everyone competes really well. I think that's something that, not a lot of external factors, like, know about us, is, like, we have a lot of depth on our team. And I can truly say, anybody that, gets plugged in, maybe is going to just carry their weight. So everyone's really good, and that's what I think helped us this fall, is, like, we competed all fall. All of our inner squads were really tight. We had a lot of competitive, atmosphere there. So that was really cool to see. And then everyone's just like-minded, right? Guys want to win, and that's just a testament to, our coaches bringing in the right dudes and us building the right culture here. So it's been a lot of fun, and we've all been pumped to get outside. We haven't been outside until this past weekend. So everyone was itching. We're excited. We're hungry to go. We're just ready to go, and it all led to here.
So, no, I appreciate you guys sharing that. So is there anyone from either a transfer that came in, or a freshman, or, someone that surprised you that you didn't really, expect, whether it's a young guy on the mound, a fifth-year transfer that came in? Is there anyone that, surprised you guys that said, oh, this guy's pretty freaking good?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, we knew he was good coming in, but our third baseman, CJ, he's been really good for us. He was great all fall, really good at third base, great bat. I mean, he smoked a ball that I don't think I've seen anyone hit this far at our field. And so that was really cool to see him. And then he played this weekend for us, all 3 games. And as a freshman to go, your first ever collegiate game, you go in against number 8 Louisville. He was great. He handled third base well, was just calm, collected, had great at-bats, hit the ball hard all weekend. So I'm really happy to see him go, really happy to see him, take off, and he's going to have a hell of a year.
For me, I would say there's a a couple pitchers. Like there's a freshman, Rudolph. He didn't get in this past weekend, but he's a dog and he has that mentality, and we know he's going to be a big part of our team this year. So keep an eye out for him. But Monke started for us Saturday against Louisville. And he let up 2 runs in the first inning. And then after that, it was, he was completely, he dialed in, I don't know if he let up another run, the rest of the start. But he kept us in it until our offense got going. And we were lucky enough to be able to, take him out just because how big of a lead we got. But he kept us in it the whole game. He's a transfer from Illinois State. I saw some things on him. I was like, this guy looks pretty good, and he is pretty good. He was our Saturday guy. So he's a guy that, is going to be really big for us.
Yeah. So talk about that mindset going into this past weekend, right? I know you guys briefly touched about it, but what was kind of the message that either Coach Boss had for you guys or, internally as players? What was kind of the mindset that you guys had going into this past weekend?
We're going to need everybody to win every single game. Even the guys that weren't playing, like they were on their feet in the dugout the whole time getting amped. You can't see it on the broadcast or in the stands, but everybody had a role in that game. We have certain jobs everybody has to do, and everybody was involved. It took all 30-something of us to win, 2 out of 3 against Louisville, and that was the main factor of it. It's just everybody has to be bought in for 9 hours over the weekend. Just be totally locked in.
So kind of dive into, the mindset, because now you guys go to Texas, right? You guys travel. So when do you guys, I'm assuming you guys fly down. I mean, you guys will probably fly down tomorrow, I'm assuming, right?
No, we leave Thursday morning at like 2 a.m.
Yeah. Super early.
So pretty much tomorrow.
I love it. But no, kind of talk about the mindset that you guys are going to have going into this weekend and then going into kind of the next few weeks before we kind of dive into conference play.
Yeah, I think just the mindset's like, I think we proved a lot this past weekend, and like we're ready. We're ready to prove a statement. I know we're going into number 3, I'm pretty sure, Texas, and like we know who we are and they might not, and I think that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So we're going to get them on surprise. We're going to, shock a lot of people this weekend. So I think that's like kind of the mindset we're going with is, we're the underdogs and we want it that way. So we're ready to go.
I love that. What a world-class answer. What a world-class answer. I love that. So kind of dive into conference play a little bit, right? We had, Noah Miller on from Michigan, obviously the rival. We don't talk about those guys, right? We hate those guys, right? But kind of dive into, what you guys are most looking forward to when it comes to, this sprint or conference play, right? Kind of getting your feet wet for some big competition, first few weeks of the spring, then diving into, the rest of the Big Ten and stuff like that. So talk about, what you maybe learned last year from playing Oregon and playing UCLA, playing those West Coast teams, right? Kind of dive into, the kind of dive into the conference play aspect for me.
The biggest thing, that I kind of learned from last year is that, every single game matters. If you lose a Friday game, you win a Saturday game, that Sunday game is very important, and it's just as important as that Friday. Like every single game matters. We got into the Big Ten tournament on the very last day of our, conference play last year against Minnesota. So every single game we got to be locked in. And we go to Nebraska, we open up there. That's going to be a great venue for us. So first and foremost, I'm excited about that. And I know we host UCLA later down the road, so I'm pumped about that too.
Yeah, I would say I think it's a great opportunity that we have like UCLA coming here. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most with conference play starting up. And like you said, like every game's important. So you need to win them all.
I mean, you guys, it's just like, if I had a textbook and you just said, hey, what to answer for this question, you guys killed it. But honestly, we're not going to take too much of your time, this evening, because I know you guys are busy, right? We got to study for class, right? But at the same time, I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate you being a part of Cold with the Bats and what we're trying to do. And, look forward to watching you guys the rest of the spring.